Good morning, everyone, and welcome to On the Wrong Lead presents Saratoga Daily. I am Mark, and it's the last day of the Saratoga meet. Done a bunch of these dailies, and we're at the end of the road for this year. I think it went well. Hopefully, I gave some people some ideas. I know that if you tailed me on Saturday, you did very well. Both of those doubles were successful. I think you had to tweak the second one a little bit. I know a lot of people said, "Hey, I took the logical Tom's Rocket in the first leg, and then use your spread in the second." So hopefully some people did well there, and we were able to get around both favorites, which was pretty interesting for a Saturday. So we are looking at today's the Monday, September 7th Saratoga card. Today is a really interesting day because it is mandatory payout on all of the horizontals. So things like pick fours, pick fives, pick sixes all pay out. If you're interested in something like the late pick six or the only pick six, hop on a Discord. We'll talk through that sequence there. I think the late pick six is a pretty darn complicated sequence. It's way more than I want to tackle in one of these streams. Although I do think the pick five can be hit on a pretty skinny ticket. So we're gonna try to go out on a bang, and we're gonna take a look at the pick five. First, I want to take a look at the two stakes races on the card, though. But in addition to Saratoga, if you're somebody that's just a horse racing fan in general, Del Mar is at the end of their meet as well. So they'll have payouts as well on mandatories on every sequence. So Del Mar is a pretty interesting card to look at. Also, Kentucky Downs opening day is today. Kentucky Downs is a very short meet, very boutique meet with very high purses and extremely prestigious. So you're going to see a lot of just absolute turf monsters shipping into what looks like somebody's backyard to run on a weird-shaped track. It's an awesome track. It's tons of fun. It's all turf racing. If you're down there, you can literally back your pickup truck up to the fence, sit in the bed, and watch a bunch of world-class horses run by. It's an amazingly cool meet. It's one that's on my bucket list that I've always wanted to go to. But let's start by taking a look at the Saratoga 8th, which is the Lure Stakes. And this one is one of those interesting races in the fact that it came up pretty flat as far as I'm concerned. And before I get into this lure, one other thing. I actually qualified last night for a feeder to a BCBC berth. So I'm in a 23-person tournament today. If I finish first, I get a BCBC slot. So that would mean that both Caleb and I would both qualify, which would be amazingly cool. Figured I wasn't going to do it this year because it's probably not going to be in person. I know they're making an announcement later in this week. But I said, even in online, if I can get into it cheap, it would be fun. So if I can turn a $56 entry into a $10,000 seat, that'd be pretty darn cool. But yeah, let's start with the 8th here, the Lure Stakes. This race is sort of an interesting one in the fact that there's a bunch of chads in here that'll take a ton of money, and I think the morning lines are terrible, which they've been all meet. Breaking the Rules is your 3-2 morning line favorite. Joel had choice, it looks like, between both of the chads, and he lands here. So there's two ways you can look at that. One is Joel took the horse that he thought was best. The other thing is both the Ortizes are, I think, within 2 wins of each other in the jockey battle. So did Joel get taken off from the 2 Chad Browns because it's advantageous for Chad to have jockeys he uses a lot win training or win jockey titles. There'll be times later on in the meet where a jockey's real tight on choice and he'll take the Chad Brown horse because, hey, I owe Chad a favor for helping me win a jockey title. There's a chance that these 2 Chads are really loaded and, Chad is taking Rosario off to give the Ortizes the best shot at getting a win. I tend to not believe that, but I don't think Breaking the Rules goes off at 3-2. I think both the Chads take money, and I think you get more like 5-2, 3-1 on Breaking the Rules in here, who's won 2 straight, one across the Saratoga course in that optional 150, which was a loaded race with Therapist and Devamani in it. It was a very impressive race. And this one is going back into stakes, kind of into the overnight stakes. They tried some gradeds last year, did okay in an overnight stakes at Gulfstream, and then just got outclassed getting into the real graded ranks, but it looks like this, this 5-year-old has really improved as of late. Sugar has this one really right. Sugar's been great on the meet. Rosario hops up, which is good connections all the way around. I think Breaking the Rules is your top pick. The other horse I really like is Largent, the 2. Largent comes off a win in a Colonial win in the stakes, and I know that race probably isn't as tough as what's in here, but it's 2 straight, rounding into form, getting better. The Bear Figs came back a little lighter than the time form ones did, so I think Largent is a pretty interesting player in here and may get lost a little on the board as well. So those would be my A's, and then I think the 2 Chads are the B's, the Devamani and Olympico, and I did sort of like playing a double in here. The next race is sort of a very interesting maiden race, and I sort of like using the 2 and the 5 in here, and I would watch daily double payouts. If Breaking the Rules on the doubles is taking tons of money, ignore this play. Don't play it if you're saying that breaking the rules into a horse in the next and you're only getting a $7 or even like a $10 double. Not worth it. Just absolutely not worth it. Don't play it. But I have a feeling that Breaking the Rules drifts up a little and you'll get more than that $22, $25 doubles into this next race. The horse in here that's the hype horse is Speaker's Corner. The 3 has just phenomenal works and is sort of, there's always this joke about the world's fastest horse, and this is this year's Godolphin world fastest horse. This is the one that's supposed to be monster. Now, Bill Mott's not normally great with firsters, but he had a firster win at first call yesterday on the turf, so he can get them right if they're good. It tends to be, if his firsters fire first out, they're very talented. Normally, though, his take 3-4 starts. He doesn't rush him into anything. So the 3 Speaker's Corner is super interesting in here. The other one I really liked a lot is Savoy, the Chad Brown horse. Super interesting horse in here. Also a works horse. There was a few of them in here. And, but Savoy seems to be working well for Peter Brandt, which is good Chad Brown connections. Arad lands here. I would imagine this one's pretty live. Although, Chad first on the dirt, the stats show it, but a lot of us feel a little bit that these get way over bet relative to their chances of winning. The other horses I was interested in here was Outlier, the Asmussen horse coming right back. That one after the first race had some pretty solid or pretty decent workout report works. Steve doesn't work him super fast in the mornings, so the times didn't come back super fast, but the horse looked a little more professional, looked like he was behaving a little better in the morning. Rosario ends up there. Obviously Santana's out of town. And the other one that is sort of interesting in here for me is Kendrick up on 16 Merchants with Kendrick Carmouche up. You actually saw yesterday that a Kendrick Doug O'Neill horse ran, I think, second in second in a maiden special weight, and it was the same situation. One of these Doug O'Neill horses that had an okay first out race. I think Doug O'Neill 5 years ago was a big hitting first time out trainer. He hasn't been as much lately. What you're seeing more out of Doug is he's a little slower to get him into form. Now his maiden second starts, aren't great, but I think that's because you look at Doug O'Neill nationwide. You're not just looking at Doug O'Neill and Naira. His Naira second-timer starts are, what was it? Yeah, he's 10 for 70, so 14% with a $2.03 ROI over the past 5 years, with second-out juvenile maiden special weights on the dirt, which is a much better stat than the first one you see, which is this 8% maiden special weights with a $1.08 ROI. So what you're seeing is his cheap horses don't win second time out, but the ROI and the win percentage is much better on his better horses. Super logical, and it's sometimes where stats can be a little deceiving. And Doug seems to like Kendrick. That horse was very live yesterday that Kendrick was up on, and got nailed by the Mott horse. It was that race. But ran very, very professionally, ran much better its second time out than its first time, and this one ran okay. Got beat by 12 lengths, but got beat by Reinvestment Risk, who's a monster, and you're going to see Reinvestment Risk in one of the later stakes. So the play I sort of liked in here was Dutching, and people have asked what Dutching is. Dutching is altering your wager size to equalize payouts. If in the previous race the 2 and the 5 both drift up a little bit, if you could get like a 2-5 over a 3-6-8-9 double, take a look at what the will pays are. If you're not getting at least 4-1 implied there, don't go there. If you can't Dutch and do a 400% ROI, you're really not worth it. It is a pretty spready ticket, I know that. You could get even more aggressive and just single the 5 and assume Rosario had choice and he's getting on the best horse, so we do a 5 over 3-6-8-9. But again, look at the will pays, look at the probables. If you're not getting sort of a 400% ROI there, just ignore this play and just play the pick 5 that I'll give out later. The other stakes race is the 13th, which is the Hopeful. And I think this race comes down to 3 logicals, and I also like a bomb, so we'll get to that in a minute. And the lovely Shadwell naming of horses that no one can pronounce. The 3 Mutazabek, the 5 Reinvestment Risk, who I mentioned earlier, and the 6 Jackie's Warrior are your 3 logicals. For me, I thought Reinvestment Risk was crazy impressive in his first. He was very much geared down, 1 going away. And Olympiad 1, who was 3rd in that race, ran 2nd and won his maiden a few days ago. So that race came back fairly okay. And yeah, I think Reinvestment Risk is the horse this race goes through. But I will say that, it wouldn't surprise me to see either the 3 or the 6 in the winner's circle at all. Reinvestment Risk is probably going to take a lot of money. I expect him to be the morning line favorite in this race. Hopeful is always a fun race. This is one of those races that you will see, I almost guarantee you, some horse coming out of this race will end up as a major player on the Derby Trail because it happens a ton. You think about horses, I'm trying to remember, I'll Have Another was a horse that ran on the Hopeful, and there's been a few other, I think Super Saver did. Some of the horses, what was it? The Year Uncle Mo was the other horse in the barn that was the big one. Give me a second, I'll think of the name. Was a Hopeful horse. So you often see these horses in this race become players down the road. So even if you're not betting it, it's a fun race just to watch, just to see who's going to be a Derby hype horse next year. Other horse I found real interesting here at a pretty massive price is the 7 Ampersand. It's Serpy with Lascano up, not sexy connections. This one ran a very impressive race if you watch the last one. Horse bobbled pretty badly coming out was shuffled back quite a bit and made one big nice run. Now, one thing you gotta love about the 7 is this is a horse that's proven he can pass horses in the lane. I think the setup you're gonna get, and you may get here, is the 3, the 5, and the 6 all are speedballs. There's a chance that all 3 of them get into a stupid speed duel, and this 7 Ampersand is the horse I want to pick up the pieces. Gonna be able to sit and watch them go stupid on the front end. Hey, maybe one was a monster and they can go stupid and they can butt heads and beat each other up. But if it comes apart, Ampersand is your horse. And I've said this before, these 2-year-old stakes races at Saratoga tend to go one of 2 ways. Either the chalk wins, that chalk first, second choice horse that's real short priced wins, or a bomb wins it. And 7 Ampersand is the bomb that I want. I will watch the price I can get on Ampersand. If I get near that morning line, I'll have a nice win bet on him. I find him that sort of interesting. He's a Spitester who's been a real good debut sire. I think that the wet track last out may have moved him up a little bit, may have flattered his form a little bit, but this is one that I'm super interested at a bit of a price. So I did mention this early pick 5. Early pick 5 starts in race 2. There's a jumps race, which is going off in 8 minutes, so I have to get this video done so I can hop over and watch that. But I think in this second race, the only horse, I think you can play a pick 5 that's real skinny. I think Fort Worth towers over this field. He's going to be your speed. He's going to get loose. I see no reason why this one doesn't win. I think you can single Fort Worth in the first leg. The third race, I want to spread really wide and fingers crossed you catch a price. I thought the 4, the 5, the 7, and the 9 were the horses that all stood out. I'm just picking connections, and I'm picking horses that look like turf horses. Editor at Large, Seeker. Then I also had a little bit of Blue Kentucky Girl and Domain Expertise, the 9. All made a lot of sense. I thought you could even get to, if you think that Bill Mott is saving some of his barn for some of these these late races, Serene, the 2, also is one that I think is super usable in there. And I wouldn't even ignore the $8 Mountain for George Weaver, although probably won't make my pick 5 ticket, so I'm going to get a little caveman-y, and it would be 3 over 4, 2, 4, 5, 7, 9 in this leg. Let's hop into the next race, the 4th race. Again, I think you only need a single here. They're dropping Road to Meath absolutely to the bottom. They're getting rid of this horse. Horses show that he hates winning, Putting him back on the dirt, I think he gets it done. This one is one of those clean out the barn at the end of the Saratoga meet, get the ownership a win. This is not a monster. This is not a horse that's ever going to be a black type horse. We're okay getting rid of him. And this race should be, horse has one win, maiden 75 on the turf. He should be able to handle the dirt, and he should get a little bit of pace to run into. I don't want to get any more creative in here. I don't like the horse at all, but I find it really hard. It's one of those races that if I don't single him, I'm basically buying the race. If you were somebody who was on a little bit of a deeper budget, somebody like the 3 Dull Knife, who's getting a lot of class relief, makes some sense. The 4 Right Down Gentleman, who is a horse that won at first asking, comes back in the slot off the long layoff. Bruce Brown isn't great off the long layoff, but this is the proper class level for when you win a maiden 25. You come back at roughly half the price. And the other horse that I did like a little bit would be Liam's Fire for my girl Amira, albeit they're dropping this one right to the barrel. She's adding blinks. If you wanted to go too deep here, I would probably take Liam's Fire with Amira over those other 2. But, I think you can get, maybe you do a 2-8 if you have a little bit of a bigger budget. But I think the 2 gets this done probably 95% of the time. Hopping into the 5th, I think you need 2 horses in here. This is in a mile and an eighth, allowance for 74K. The 2 horses that I want in here are the 4 and the 5. The 4 per capita coming out of the Chad Brown barn. Never liked first out of the Chad Brown barn horses. Tends to not be a great win angle. But horse hops into the Fletcher barn, which is a good win angle. Arad gets up for this one. Horses won. Theoretically crossed the line first and last. Its 2 last starts. 2 back was DQ'd to second. Last out saw a big improvement. If you're a Figs person, that race at Churchill Downs was pretty darn impressive. Came back as a 93 buyer, which is much better than anybody else's here. Obviously, maiden company, you're getting first winners. So that's an interesting horse that should have a lot of speed, should be on or just off the pace. The other horse I want is the 5 Walk Off. Kendrick up for Danny Gargan. Kendrick and Danny Gargan do really good things together, and Danny Gargan is 52% first off the claim. So if we're getting 8-1 on something that happens half the time, that's pretty good. So I like Walk Off in here, and I had a hard time getting to anybody else. Yeah, you got somebody like a Candy Tycoon who's getting a ton of class relief. Horse hates winning. And you can make a case for a lot of the others. Hunt the Front makes some sense in here. Somebody like Heirloom Kitten makes some sense. But all of these are ones I don't love. I think of any of the best of the rest, Heirloom Kitten would be, if you want to go a little deeper, the 3rd horse that I would want to add. But I really think, per capita or Walk Off, one of those 2 gets it done. They're both going to be forwardly placed. I think per capita ends up in the lead. Walk Off sits that nice stalking trip. Should get first chance to go. And Arad seemed to take the Pletcher over the Gargan horse who he was on last time out, which does sort of tell you something. And then in the 6th, I want to be a little bit spread in here. So I sort of want to be 4 deep in here. Topper T makes a lot of sense. He likes Saratoga. Doesn't really love winning, though, but he likes to be involved, likes to be around the finishing line. And Rosario lands here when he had choice other places. The other horses I wanted in here, I want a little bit of Life in Shambles to 7. Kendrick for Rob Altris. Altris is 30% first off the claim, and he does well with this type, coming off a low percentage barn into the Altris barn. This is one that probably takes a step forward. The other 2 that I wanted in here are the 2. Where's this? There was so many crazy multi-entries. Arad's on We Got Told, You Got Sold, which is a hell of a name. First off, claim for Rudy. Arad obviously had been in a couple of these last out and lands here. I would assume this one is live. And the other one I liked a little bit was Aristocratic. The 8, the Nevin horse, who's got a ton of speed, and we'll have to see if Cancel can figure out a way to get this one across the line first. This was probably more of a B type for me, but in a race that I didn't think there was a real clear-cut choice, this is one that I found a little bit interesting. So I'm 1 by 5 by 1 by 2 by 4. So it's 8, 45. So you can get, what, $27.50. You can play that pick 5, get a little bit of action for pretty cheap. I think you could leverage it up. If you wanted to get a little more spread, come on Discord, ping me, and we'll figure out a structure that fits your budget. I'm pretty open to chatting with people who are like, hey, I like your picks, but I want to know how I maybe can do some multi-ticket, some ABC, get a little bit better leverage. It's been real fun. I've enjoyed doing this for the meet. I plan on doing some more of these, back into a little more rotation. I'll be a little quiet. Obviously, Kentucky Downs is a fun track, but it's not a big volume track for me. Play a little bit of that. Going to try to BC qualify, and then I'm going to be fairly quiet till Breeders' Cup. Sort of lick my wounds from a Saratoga meet. I'm going to, unless I hit something that is a fairly nice score today, I'm going to be down in the Saratoga meet for the first time in 6 or 8 years, which is a little bit sad, but it happens. If you like this stuff, like and subscribe. 2020's been a rough year on me, so I guess I'll go to say that it's been a weird year for everybody, and me losing money in Saratoga is a little bit painful, and not something that happens very often. But yeah, if you like this stuff, like and subscribe to this content. It means a lot to us. We do this stuff all for fun, and until next time, good luck at the races.